Welcome to Volume 2, the basic concepts of Serrada Eskrima. In this tape, we will be covering the strikes 7 through 12, their responses, and disarms. In Advanced Lock and Block, we will explore the variables which evolve from the basic foundation of lock and block. The Advanced Free Flow segment will introduce you to the pass method while adding additional strikes with their counters. The Cadena de Mano segment will consist of basic strikes, deflections, entries, and disarms. We will also touch upon the hand-to-hand flow drills and hand versus stick counters. At the end of each segment, I will show the physical evolution process performed at full speed. Please note that this tape is a continuation of Serrada Eskrima Basic Concepts Volume 1. In Volume 1, I described many of the fundamental movements in Serrada Eskrima. You will need to familiarize yourself with Volume 1 before you will be able to fully understand the material on this tape. If you have the Volume 1 video, please review the tape again before you continue with Volume 2. This is the number 7, number 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Strike 7 is a thrust to the opponent's right pectoral region, delivered palm in from the left side of the attacker's body. Strike 8 is a horizontal strike which arcs across the opponent's pectorals or throat from his right side to his left. Strike 9 is a diagonal palm-up strike delivered cross-body to the opponent's right knee, terminating at his left collarbone. Strike 10 is a double thrusting strike in which a knife thrust to the opponent's right eye is followed by a bolo or baston thrust to the opponent's left eye. Strike 11 is the mirror image of strike number 9. It is a diagonal palm-up strike originating at the opponent's left knee and terminating at his right collarbone. Strike 12 is a double thrusting strike, similar to strike number 10. However, both thrusts are delivered simultaneously. I raise my left hand and weapon hand to a sweep position. I allow the strike to come to me. I then smother the arm at the elbow. I strike the forearm, check, and lock. As I form a shield to protect my right pectoral, I smother my opponent's arm below the elbow. I strike the forearm, check, and lock. As I drop and step slightly to the left, I parry the tip of the weapon to my right shoulder. I thrust to the ribs. I then form a shield and check the tricep as I strike the deltoid. I check, then lock. I use the sweep position. I insert the tip of my weapon. I turn and lock my opponent's wrist and disarm the weapon. I smother the weapon hand downward while I flip my stick down and lower my center. I hit under the wrist to the top of the wrist. I check, reposition, and lock. As I step back with my left foot, I turn my weapon downward to form the cross block. I deflect the strike down and away from my body. I hit under the wrist to the top of the wrist. I check and lock. I smother the weapon hand inward and downward while striking the wrist. I then strike under the wrist to the top of the wrist. I then check and lock. I initiate a number 8 punch block. I hook the weapon hand and smother it to my body while I disarm the weapon. As I hold my weapon close to my leg, I drop my center. My left hand and weapon drop simultaneously, hand to hand, stick to stick. I clear the weapon hand, I strike under the wrist, to the top of the wrist, I check and lock. I take a slight step back with my left foot. I then raise my right leg while fanning my weapon against my opponent's weapon. I flip hit to the wrist. I then check and lock. I step back with my right foot. As I step back with my left, I strike the wrist. I check and lock. I perform the number 9 punch block. I take the weapon hand and strip the weapon. I strike the dagger hand with an upward flip hit. I step forward with my right foot. Simultaneously, I check the weapon hand with my left hand and check the stick with my weapon. I strike the right hip. I hit under the wrist, to the top of the wrist, check and lock. I strike the dagger hand with an upward flip hit. I form a shield by laying my weapon on my left forearm. I strike the forearm, then under the wrist, to the top of the wrist, check, and lock. I strike the dagger hand. I step forward with my right foot. I then perform the inside block. I strike the knee. I raise my weapon up, striking the tricep as I step under the arm with my left foot. I check the tricep as I reposition my right foot. I then strike the shoulder, check, and lock. I utilize the number 10 inside block. I enter striking the jaw as I place my left foot behind my opponent's foot. I then strike the chest with an elbow as I bump his leg inward with my knee. I then butt the groin. As I drop my center with my weapon, I smother my opponent's weapon with my free hand and weapon. I strike the forearm, I hit under the wrist to the top of the wrist, I then check and lock. I take a slight step back with my left foot. I raise my right leg while fanning my weapon with my opponent's motion. I reverse flip hit to the wrist. I then check and lock. I step back with my left foot. I then step back with my right foot. I hit the wrist against my opponent's motion while replacing my right foot. I then check and lock. I utilize the number 11 cross block. I enter with my left foot behind my opponent's foot. As I use a forearm strike to the chest, I then butt the groin. As I sidestep to my left, I strike both limbs from underneath. I then follow with a number 2 strike. I hold in a redonda pattern. I check and lock. I step forward and to the left while deflecting the tip of my opponent's weapon. I then thrust. I form a shield, then check the tricep. I strike the shoulder, check and lock. I step forward and to the left. I deflect the tip of the weapon. I strike the left and right ribs. I then strike the arm, check, and lock. I parry the weapon hand as I step to the left. I trap both of my opponent's limbs and drop sharply. I control and strike. The basic foundation of lock and block covered in Volume 1, we utilize the basic strikes and counters. In advanced lock and block, we initiate multiple striking and multiple dagger strikes, all the while retaining a centralized position of our weapon. In feeding, one can reverse their strikes either before or after contact is made. In Volume 1, we kept a solid low stance, making sure our left hand followed the flow, and we introduced 3 basic counters and strikes. We are now introducing the pass method. We guide the strike through its natural flow and immediately delivering a strike. The flow will become much faster and elevate response time. What you are seeing here is the coconut drill based on cinco teros, or 5 strikes. This is a drill used by Master Leo Heron. By learning the basic motion, one can condense or expand the motion to accommodate any attack within that pattern. One can strike with or against the motion. One can easily adapt the motion to any of the striking tools such as the stick, knife, or hand. Body angulation and perception of multiples are enhanced. The speed of the motion may be altered to learn the concept of the disruption of flow. This is a right vertical punch to the nose. This is a right eye jab. This is a horizontal backhand. It's a left sipa. This is a left-right combination. This is a right sipa and a two-handed push. I initiate a number 7 sweep block. I parry the weapon and smother the forearm. I strike the bridge of the nose. I utilize the number 8 block. I smother the strike downward as I hook with my left hand and disarm. I utilize a number 9 punch block, striking the weapon arm with my left elbow and trapping with my right hand. I disarm and take down. I perform a number 10 inside counter. I check the left hand, then parry and check my opponent's weapon hand. I continue my attack. I perform a number 11 punch block. I stop the weapon hand as I elbow strike the arm. I disarm and continue my motion. I parry the tip of the weapon as I wrap both limbs with my right hand. I lock and then drop sharply downward. I clear and control. This particular flow demonstrates the natural transition from a Serrada outside block to a cadena de mano flow to a trapping flow. All transitions are a nucleus. They may begin and finish at any of the 3 points. Each point has its situational application. There are 12 forms of deflections associated with cadena de mano, each having its situational effectiveness. The deflections cover the range from head to waist. Anything lower would constitute a sharp downward drop of the body in conjunction with a low-line deflection. Extreme follow-ups would be determined by the situation. Cadena de mano is based on cinco tiros or 5 strikes. It is designed to attack the limbs as it takes a direct approach to isolate a situation as quickly as possible. 2 of the key motions are to accept and smother the limb before it generates rather than intercept and trap. In Max Sarmiento's younger years, he was presented opportunities to perfect his art in actual street situations. During his era, he quickly developed a reputation for himself, as well as for Filipinos in general, as being a very proficient street fighter. Max was a very kind and gentle person. He was a precise and powerful in his movement, and a very strict and realistic teacher. His view on martial arts was that there is no best style, and that devotion to one's art would reap the results one expected. He also felt that all techniques were not systematic but situational. His thought was to explore your system and best fit the motion to their situations. The spirit of the Filipino warriors, masters, and instructors is much deeper than surface-level combat. It is the love of life and all mankind. This particular drill is used to enhance the adaptability to an opposite flow, which is your opponent's energy. Each motion performed is an individual technique which is stimulated by action or reaction. Kicking can be integrated for a full physical evolution. In this drill, we incorporate all known deflections and strikes and put them in a spontaneous motion. Reaction time, sensitivity, and the sense of flow is enhanced. It is always a good habit to constantly review known techniques in a free-form manner, and move the way you feel at the moment. Through this, one learns to trust the inner self, and spontaneity is nourished. This completes my series on the basic concepts of Serrado Esgrima. My next video will be an in-depth instructional on the art of cadena de mano as taught to me by Max Sarmento. This system was developed and perfected from actual street situations. I would like to thank Perry Craver for his assistance with this video. Perry Craver is one of the original core instructors under Grandmaster Angel Caballas. I would also like to thank Father William Sheenan for his spiritual guidance. May peace be with you.